Hello and welcome to the Real Watchers Movie Club. My name is Garrett.
And I'm Kevin.
And we are your hosts. Movie Club is the show where we pick a movie every week and discuss it just like a book club. On today's show, we are covering the classic comedy Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Our thoughts and more coming up on Movie Club. Released in 1975, Monty Python and the Holy Grail was directed by Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones and stars Graham Chapman, John Cleese, and Eric Idle. King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table embark on a surreal, low-budget search for the Holy Grail, encountering many very silly obstacles. It's currently ranked 158 on IMDb's Top 250 and currently has a 4.1 out of 5 on Letterboxd. Before we dive into the movie, though, which has been around for 50 years now, and if you haven't seen it, we don't want to spoil it for you, so go watch it, then come back. You're not going to offend us.
Please go watch it.
Yeah, there you go. But stay tuned to the end of the show to find out what movie we're covering next week, because, again, total shift, which is nice. We got to have different movies. Alrighty, Kevin, so Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yep.
This was your pick.
Correct, it was.
And stupidest question I've ever asked you, Kevin. Mm-hmm. Why pick Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
You know what? I'm glad you asked that. There are no stupid questions, just dumb answers. And it's because why not? I've absolutely loved this movie ever since I was a little kid. We used to put it on, family and I. It was so stupid, it was funny. So I just won't go into anything else, though.
Well, there you go. This is probably one of my most rewatched movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite films ever. It's on the top 150 films that remind me why I love film. Mm-hmm. Both the original list and the upcoming redo. I absolutely love every single moment of this movie. But let's go ahead and drop the pleasantries, drop the spoiler protection, and just go ahead and dive in. Because this movie, I am just going to go ahead and spoil it because I believe we talked about this on the podcast.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
This movie is a perfect comedy to me. And I think that it very clearly on its sleeve in its description wears the fact that it is a low budget movie. Very much out loud and proud. You know, it is like a totally out LGBTQ person, right? They're living it and they're not letting anyone know otherwise. But, hey, I'm a part of the community. I love it. But man, I love this movie so much. It is so funny because of its low budgetness, because of the smart things that you have to do as a filmmaker and as a cast comedically to make a movie set in this time period work.
Yeah, it really does.
Make it work.
They make it work so damn well as well. I absolutely love it. It's low budget. When I watched this first, I did not know it was a low budget film. I just thought it was just a comedy the entire way. Absolutely loved it still. And then knowing that it was just a low budget film that couldn't get everything, it makes it even so much better watching it now. But yeah, dude, there's so many one-liners in this movie that we can go on. We can go like 20 minutes of one-liners from this movie. And
it's one of the most quotable movies ever.
It is. And if you haven't seen it, please go see it because it's just I didn't know how old this movie was too. Like I thought it was like an 80s or 90s movie, but a 74 movie. I was
75.
75. I was like, wow, that is fantastic that they could bring this low budget film and create like a cult following with it because they did make some other movies as well, but this one's the most, I feel like the most regarded one out of all of them.
One more time? That made sense in my head, but
so they made other films, correct?
Yes, there are two other Monty Python films.
Yeah, but everybody talks about this one, so this one's the more like highly known one, correct?
This one and Life of Brian are the two the most talked about ones. I would say that Life of Brian is... What do I have Life of Brian at? I have Life of Brian as a 93. I think it gets a little dragged down at the end. And then there's also The Meaning of Life, which is the other film that they did. And that one is still very funny as well. I just don't think that it's up to the same snuff as these two. Okay. Holy Grail is the best one for sure.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's so much fun going into it. I always have an absolute blast, even though we probably know the whole movie inside and out. But just I can still fight. I'll bite ya and stuff like that. Like, it's just so
Look, you stupid bastard! You've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look. And the freaking I told myself I wasn't just going to quote this movie during this video, and I've already broken
that. It's like, so what kind of sparrow was it? Was it?
There's an entire diatribe on how a coconut would have gotten to the Middle Ages England, which obviously they're tropical, and this is a temperate zone, as they say in the movie. And they go on and on about it for like 5 minutes, and it's never not funny.
It's not.
And it's just perfectly written. But the thing is, it's all based off of another joke. That the fact that they're using two empty halves of coconuts and clacking them together to make hoof sounds for the horses. Yeah. Do you know why they did that?
Because it's a low-budget film.
And they couldn't afford horses. They afforded horses for one moment of them, or 2 moments of the movie.
2 moments.
The end part, which I'm sure is just a bunch of people who were like, we're Monty Python fans, we'll show up. And then the part with the knight who kills the historian. Which is funny because the police should automatically know that the cast is innocent because they don't have horses. Which is really funny to me. But it's joke built upon joke built upon joke, and it works so well. But also, like, if you take a look at it, a lot of films that came out around this time or before this time that dealt with similar events, historical events like Ben-Hur or all these, were more glossy. They were these wonderful depictions of the past. Everything was clean and sparkling. Now everything's covered in shit in this movie.
Dude, it's literally it's a shit movie, but it's so good at being a shit movie because it didn't take itself seriously. It knew what kind of movie this was going to be just from the description, and you're in for the ride, and you're like, wow, they nailed it on the head with this movie. Because I don't want to say they didn't care, because obviously they did care, but it's just like they looked like they were having so much fun on that movie. So
it looks like everyone is having a blast, and like every moment from when there's a crowd to when there isn't. I'm sure they're having a blast behind the camera as well. Like, it's so smart in the way that it's written, but it's so dumb. And I think that's what makes it work, right? Like, there's literally a part, I don't know how much this is true, but like they ran out of animation budget. So what'd they do? They killed the monster mid-chase scene and said the animator died. That's really funny. But it's
brilliant if they don't have the money too. It's brilliant because if they don't have the money, they're like, okay, how do we do this? We'll just kill them, like, on screen, and then it's over.
and then the animator died. Sorry. That's so freaking funny, and I truly appreciate everything this movie tries to do, because it's trying to make this grand epic story. I mean, maybe I don't know if it's trying to make it grand and epic, but it like the base story about King Arthur and the hunt for the Holy Grail is an epic, right? Yeah. And they don't make it epic. Obviously it's as epic as you can make it for what budget you have. This is, I would say, on that note, this is the best example of how to make a movie with the budget you have exceedingly well. And not only use that low budget to your advantage comedically, but like, this movie doesn't drag. this movie doesn't linger too long on anything. And if it does linger on something too long, like the swallow argument in the beginning,
Yeah.
it's for comedic effect. It's
Mhm.
not because it's like, oh, more dialogue is cheaper than having the cart full of dead people, you know?
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
there isn't a non-funny moment in
you
this movie.
you just
Now, I will say,
mhm.
go
Okay.
ahead. Looks like you want to ask. I don't want you to forget.
I was gonna say another one that you just brought up again and made me flash back to it. Bring out your dead. I'm not dead yet. Bam. Now she is.
Um, oh, thank you very much, sir. No, but like, I can understand some people. Like, I know, like my dad and I both really love this movie.
Well, yeah.
My mom doesn't, and I think the type of humor is definitely. I'm not going to say it's selective because I would say more people like this than not.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think that this movie is a little dependent of when you watch it. I think because we watched this as kids, we really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was, oh, it's funny and Knight's being funny, but then now as an adult, you're like, oh shit, no, this is really well written.
Yeah.
But some people just don't like the Monty Python sense of humor, the surrealism, the animations that they kind of do sometimes, even the musical parts. I don't know if you know this. Did you know there's a musical based on this movie?
No, I did
A
not.
Broadway musical.
No.
Yeah, it's called Spamalot.
Oh, okay.
And
No, I have heard of that before.
I actually went and saw this for my birthday when I was like in high school, I think.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's not the same as a movie. There's a lot more music parts of it, but it is still really funny. It's so interesting. Like this movie has such a life, and I don't think that anyone was expecting this movie to be as successful, especially now, than it was when it came out.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go back to different comedic humors because I got shown this by my aunt, not even my mom, and my dad knew about it. And we were watching, I think she put it on for like a Christmas or Christmas Eve or something like that. And she was like, oh, I'm just going to put this on. I'm thinking of a Christmas movie or something like that. My dad and my aunt and I were just rolling on the floor because of how funny it was. And my mom was like, this is such a stupid movie. Why are you guys laughing at this? And then now, since I really like it and I put it on sometimes, even at like Christmas, she goes, this movie has grown on me because of how dumb it is. Not because it's stupid. It's just what were they thinking in this moment and how it happened and everything. So she's grown on it, but at the first she was like, this is the dumbest movie, why are you putting this on, type of thing. And I just love how it kind of turned her into like, okay, we're gonna watch this every year kind of thing.
It's just a dumb movie.
Yeah, it is.
It's so smart.
Yeah, and I hate to call it a dumb movie because we're hyping up like it's a fantastic movie, but it's a dumb fantastic movie that if you want a really good comedy, like I would compare this to Airplane a little bit, like back in the day. Airplane is a really dumb comedy movie with different dialogue and everything like that, but this one is even better because it has, oh my gosh, the fake puppet for the rabbit is hilarious. And then when he gets the Holy Grail out and it's singing and the book is opening up and stuff, it's like it's so dramatized and you're like, okay, it's just for a rabbit though. And you just got to think about it that way and you'll have so much fun watching it if you do that.
Yeah, and it's so hard to talk about this movie because
You just want to quote it all.
you want to quote it. You want to, it's because it's hard, right? We could spend the entire review sitting here saying, "Oh, it's just so funny," but it really is because of how dumb it is, because of how well written it is. Like, yes, it's dumb, but it had to be written to be funny and that dumb and to work.
Mm-hmm.
And it just takes so much talent, and it is really hard to sit here and really get in depth, right? Because the movie's not trying to say anything. It's not a deconstruction of the King Arthur myth. They wanted to make a funny King Arthur movie that was maybe a little bit more realistic because everything's covered in shit. But it just works so well.
It does. Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, Kevin. So Monty Python and the Holy Grail. This was your pick. So
Yes,
what's your score and final thoughts?
My final thoughts of this movie is it is just dumb, fun, fantastic movie. If you haven't watched it, please do yourself a favor and go watch this movie right away. Don't take it too seriously, too. I think you'll have a lot more fun with it as well. So I gave this movie 100 out of 100 because it's a part of my childhood. I watch it, try to watch it every single year. And it's so much fun. So many quotable things. If you want a quotable movie, this is your movie for you.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that this movie is so joyously ridiculous. It is like it bamboozles you because it's so low budget, it's so surreal, yet it is so funny and it works so well. 50 years later, like there's nothing that is not aged well. Like this movie is it's literally the perfect comedy. There's only one other movie that I consider to be a perfect comedy with this one, which is Blazing Saddles. And I think they're both in a very similar boat. But I think that Monty Python and the Holy Grail sits neck and neck with it because of its absurdity. And because of that, I give it 100 out of 100, 5 out of 5. It is one of my favorite films of all time. It probably is my most rewatched film of all time. So we both give it 105 stars. So that is something. Go and watch the damn movie if you haven't already. So the question now falls to you, though. What do you think of Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Go ahead and leave those comments down in the comment section down below. But be careful. You want to be respectful because, the Knights of Ni could come around and give you a good ass whooping. But next week, we're going to be covering the romantic drama In the Mood for Love. It's our second time looking at Wong Kar-wai. So very excited to take a look at that film. Make sure to watch it next week, or before next week, so you're not spoiled. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching. We have this show that goes live every Friday at 4 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and of course our live stream that goes live every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep those eyes on the screen.